Prince Harry's life has been anything but ordinary, from his childhood in the British royal family to his service in the military. Known for his charismatic and rebellious nature, Harry faced both public scrutiny and personal challenges. However, no one expected the events that would shake the foundations of the royal family and alter his future forever. At 40, Prince Harry finally admits what we all suspected. But before we check out what he said, we need to delve deep into the story to understand what happened. The failed marriage between Diana and Charles was one of the most talked about unions of the 20th century, a relationship that seemed to have all the right ingredients for a fairy tale but quickly turned into a public and painful spectacle. Diana, a young woman with little experience in the royal world, married Charles, the heir to the British throne, in 1981. The wedding, watched by millions around the world, was a grand event. People saw a fairy tale romance between the two, but behind the polished image, the reality of their relationship was far from ideal. It produced one of the most shocking rumors ever. Charles had already been in a complicated relationship with Camilla, a woman he had known before he met Diana. Camilla Parker Bowles, who was an aristocratic figure with a bit more experience in royal circles, had caught Charles's attention early on. However, because of royal expectations and pressures, Charles was encouraged to marry Diana, who at the time was seen as a more suitable match due to her youth and beauty. Diana, for her part, was deeply in love with Charles when they first met. However, things began to fall apart shortly after their marriage. It quickly became clear that Charles was still emotionally attached to Camilla, and this created a rift between the newlyweds. Despite Diana's efforts to please her husband and fit into the demanding royal life, Charles continued to see Camilla in secret, which hurt Diana deeply. The strain of this love triangle became more public in the years that followed, especially as the media began to take an interest in their private lives. Diana, ever the people's princess, started to reveal more of her inner struggles. Over time, the couple's relationship continued to deteriorate. Diana, who had initially been known for her grace and beauty, started to show signs of distress. She began to speak more openly about her emotional pain and the struggles she was facing in her marriage. At the same time, Charles's relationship with Camilla was slowly becoming harder to hide, as reports of their secret meetings and phone calls started leaking to the press. The tensions between Diana and Charles were evident during public appearances. The couple, once seen as inseparable, started appearing more distant. Diana, known for her compassion and charitable work, continued to fulfill her royal duties, but her personal life was taking a toll. Charles, on the other hand, was increasingly focused on his relationship with Camilla, which led to even more friction between him and Diana. As the years passed, their marriage became an open secret. The public's fascination with the royal couple only grew, with many becoming more sympathetic towards Diana as the details of Charles's infidelity came to light. For Diana, the emotional damage caused by Charles's affair with Camilla was profound. She later confessed in interviews that she had felt isolated and unsupported both within the royal family. The emotional weight of these years began to affect Diana's well-being. The final blow to the marriage came in the form of the infamous 1992 book Diana, Her True Story, written by journalist Andrew Morton. In it, Diana shared her side of the story, offering a personal and candid account of her struggles, her suffering, and the reality of her marriage. The book shocked the world, revealing the emotional turmoil Diana had been enduring as well as the details of Charles's affair with Camilla. The royal family, already under intense public scrutiny, could no longer ignore the growing rift between the couple. It was announced from Buckingham Palace that, with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales had decided to separate. Their Royal Highnesses had no plans to divorce, and their constitutional positions were unaffected. In 1992, the couple officially separated. The divorce proceedings were lengthy and full of tension. Charles, who had long been involved with Camilla, and Diana, who had been deeply hurt by her husband's betrayal, were now on separate paths. Despite the separation, the royal family's efforts to maintain a united public front were clear. Diana continued to be adored by the public, and her popularity only increased after the separation. Charles, meanwhile, continued to see Camilla, but their relationship was still controversial and not fully accepted by the public. Many people still saw Camilla as the woman who had played a key role in the breakdown of Charles's marriage to Diana, and public opinion was slow to change. The relationship between Charles and Camilla remained private for years as they both faced intense public scrutiny. In 1996, Diana and Charles's divorce was finalized, marking the end of a tumultuous chapter in both of their lives. The royal family was forever changed by the fallout from their marriage, and the media continued to obsess over their personal lives. Charles eventually married Camilla in 2005, after years of public opposition. While the marriage was still controversial to some, it was seen as a final resolution to the long-running love triangle. However, it did not erase the scars left by his infidelity, nor did it change the public's view of his previous relationship with Diana. What a lot of people didn't know about their marriage recently came out, and Prince Harry even confirmed it, but more on that later. Diana's life after her separation from Charles was filled with both public attention and personal turmoil. Among the most talked about aspects of her post-marriage life was the fact that she also had a relationship during her marriage, a relationship with James Hewitt, a man who would become one of the most prominent figures in her life. This affair, which took place during the 1980s and 1990s, was seen by many as Diana's way of striking back at Charles, whose affair with Camilla Parker Bowles had already been made public. But who was James Hewitt, and how did he become such an integral part of Diana's life during that time? James Hewitt was born on April 30, 1958, in Durham, England. He came from a well-to-do family, with his father being a businessman. The Hewitt family had a long history of military service, and James followed in their footsteps, eventually pursuing a career in the British Army. Educated at prestigious schools, James attended the Dragon School in Oxford before moving on to Eton College, one of the most renowned schools in the country. After finishing his education, James Hewitt joined the British Army, where he was commissioned as an officer in the Royal Artillery. It was during his time in the military that James's life would take a turn that would ultimately link him to Diana. He was stationed at the prestigious Sandhurst Military Academy, where he trained to become a tank commander. Known for his good looks, charm, and athleticism, James was popular among his peers and later with Lady Diana. However, it was his military career and connections to the royal family that brought him into Diana's orbit. Diana first met James when he was working as an instructor for the Household Cavalry, a prestigious division of the British Army. At the time, Diana was still married to Charles, but their relationship was already in shambles. Diana had become increasingly unhappy in her marriage, feeling isolated, neglected, and emotionally abandoned by her husband. Charles, on the other hand, had already rekindled his relationship with Camilla, leaving Diana to cope with the pain of being in a loveless marriage. When Diana met James, there was an instant connection between them. James, with his charm and personality, struck Diana as different from the royal world she was a part of. Their relationship began as a friendship, with James offering Diana the companionship and emotional support she longed for. Over time, their bond deepened, eventually turning into a full-blown affair. The affair was kept secret for a while, as both Diana and James were careful to protect their privacy. However, as is often the case with high-profile figures, rumors began to spread. The British tabloids, which had been closely following Diana and Charles's troubled marriage, soon caught wind of the relationship. In 1992, the affair between Diana and James became public knowledge and was widely reported in the media. For many, Diana's relationship with James was seen as her way of taking control of her narrative and asserting her independence after years of emotional pain caused by her marriage to Charles. Her affair with James was viewed by some as a response to Charles's own infidelity with Camilla. At a time when Diana was under immense public scrutiny, the affair became one of the most talked about aspects of her personal life. It was seen by some as Diana striking back at Charles and showing she too had the power to pursue her own romantic interests. However, the relationship between Diana and James was not without its challenges. The constant media attention, already a source of stress for Diana, only intensified after the affair became public. James, who had initially enjoyed the attention that came with being linked to the princess, soon found himself under the microscope as well. The pair struggled with the pressure of being constantly followed by paparazzi and facing public scrutiny at every turn. Despite these challenges, Diana and James's relationship continued for several years. However, as time passed, it became clear that their relationship was not sustainable. James, who had been a major source of emotional support for Diana during her difficult marriage, found himself caught up in the whirlwind of fame and the pressures that came with being involved with the most famous woman in the world. Meanwhile, Diana's life continued to be filled with turmoil, with her relationship with Charles still causing emotional pain even after their separation. By the early 1990s, Diana's relationship with James had started to cool, and by 1992, they had officially ended their affair. While Diana continued to be seen as a beloved figure by the public, her relationship with James had already played a significant role in her post-divorce life. The affair had offered Diana a way to reclaim her sense of self and take control of her happiness, something she had struggled with during her marriage to Charles. James, after his relationship with Diana ended, returned to his military career for a while before moving on to other ventures. James Hewitt, like many others who were involved with Diana, became part of the larger story of her life after her marriage to Charles. Their relationship, though it ended years before Diana's tragic passing, was a symbol of her search for love, happiness, and emotional fulfillment. However, one thing from their relationship, one rumor, would come to haunt the entire British monarchy. Prince Harry's early life was marked by turbulence and upheaval, not only in terms of his public duties as a member of the British royal family but also due to the personal struggles his parents, Charles and Diana, endured. While much of the public's attention focused on the dramatic breakdown of Diana and Charles's marriage, the effects on their children, especially Harry, were profound. The impact of their separation, Charles's affair with Camilla, and the subsequent divorce left lasting scars on Harry, who was just a young child at the time. Born in 1984 as the second son of Charles and Diana, Harry's older brother William had been born just 2 years earlier in 1982. Despite their privileged positions, Harry and William were not immune to the tension and turmoil within their family. Charles and Diana's relationship had always been strained, but the public revelations about Charles's affair with Camilla and the eventual collapse of their marriage sent shockwaves through the royal family, affecting their children in both subtle and overt ways. For Harry, the news of his father's affair was not just a matter of public embarrassment, it was a deeply personal betrayal. As a young boy, Harry didn't fully understand the intricacies of his parents' marriage but was keenly aware of the changes happening around him. The emotional toll on Diana, who had already suffered years of isolation and neglect in her marriage, was something Harry could not escape. He, like his brother William, watched his mother's pain unfold, knowing that their family was no longer the united front it had once appeared to be. The breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage became increasingly public in the 1990s. The media, which had long been fascinated by the royal family, turned its attention to the growing tensions between the couple. Diana's struggles with mental health, her own infidelities, and the emotional neglect she experienced at the hands of Charles became fodder for the tabloids. For the children, this was an unbearable situation. They were young and had no control over the public narrative surrounding their family, but the pressure was inescapable. Harry was only around 10 years old when his parents officially separated in 1992. At that age, children are not always able to process the emotional complexity of such a situation, but they feel the tension and the changes. Harry's relationship with his father, Charles, was already strained, and the separation only exacerbated this. Harry found it difficult to reconcile the image of his father, the future King of England, with the reality of a man who had betrayed his mother and, by extension, his family. While William, the older of the two boys, often took on the role of protector and mediator, Harry was more openly rebellious, acting out in ways that would later become well documented. As a young boy, Harry had a difficult time accepting the idea of his parents' divorce, particularly the fact that his father had been unfaithful to Diana. The divorce, finalized in 1996, was a public and painful affair, with both Charles and Diana airing their grievances in interviews, memoirs, and public statements. This put additional strain on the children, who were caught in the middle of a family rift that played out in the media for the entire world to see. For Harry, the divorce marked the beginning of a more complex relationship with the monarchy and his place within it. As he moved into his teenage years, he found it increasingly difficult to navigate the expectations placed on him as a royal while dealing with the fallout from his parents' marriage. His rebellious streak became more evident as he grew older. He acted out in school, was known for his mischievous behavior, and became more defiant of the royal family's strict protocols. While William was expected to eventually assume a greater role within the family, Harry seemed to be seeking a way to break free from the weight of his royal responsibilities, which were tied directly to the painful memories of his parents' divorce. The media's portrayal of Harry and William during their formative years only compounded their struggles. As the children of one of the most famous and scrutinized couples in the world, they were constantly in the spotlight. Photographs of Harry and William with their mother were widely circulated, and their emotional struggles became fodder for the tabloids. The divorce was not a private matter for the royal family, it was a spectacle. For Harry, the pressure was immense. Despite this, Diana did her best to shield her sons from the media frenzy surrounding her divorce from Charles. She continued to be a strong presence in their lives, offering them love, support, and guidance. However, the stress of the divorce took its toll on Diana as well. The public drama of her separation from Charles, combined with her ongoing struggles with mental health, left her exhausted. She was also fighting for her own independence, which meant that her relationship with her children, while strong, was also challenged by her own emotional battles. Harry's relationship with his father continued to be strained after the divorce. While Charles remained a part of his life, it was clear that the bond between father and son was not as strong as it had been before the breakdown of the marriage. Charles was often described as distant and emotionally unavailable, especially during Harry's teenage years. This lack of emotional closeness from both of his parents left Harry feeling isolated and misunderstood, contributing to his growing defiance. But what hurt Harry the most was something gruesome he had come forward about recently. Prince Harry's revelation. For many years, rumors swirled around the British royal family, particularly about Prince Harry's paternity. A controversial and persistent theory, widely reported by the press, suggested that Major James Hewitt, a former British Army officer and Diana's lover, might have been Harry's biological father. This idea wasn't just a brief tabloid buzz, it became a deeply entrenched narrative amplified by the striking physical similarities between Harry and James, as well as their shared military background. Even Harry himself was led to believe this was the truth. James Hewitt became a well-known figure in the 1980s, largely due to his relationship with Diana. Their affair lasted for several years and became one of the most sensational stories surrounding the royal family. As a member of the British Army, James was seen as a strong, rugged man, a far cry from the more reserved and distant Prince Charles. The theory about Hewitt being Harry's father gained momentum due to several factors, the most obvious being the physical similarities between the two men. Harry's red hair, distinctive trait he shares with James, was one of the key points that fueled the rumors. It seemed so striking that people began to speculate if there was more to the resemblance than just coincidence. The two also shared similar facial features, and as Harry grew older, many couldn't help but point out how much he resembled the man Diana had been romantically involved with. The media fanned the flames, constantly comparing photos of Harry and James, pointing out the uncanny similarities. Another factor that contributed to the rumors was the fact that both Harry and James had a strong connection to the military. Harry served in the British Army, rising through the ranks and becoming known for his work in the armed forces, including serving on the front lines in Afghanistan. The press saw this parallel as another point of comparison with James, who had also served in the military. Harry's own beliefs about his paternity were complicated by the media attention. For a time, he believed the rumors about James being his father. The constant barrage of press coverage about the affair between Diana and Hewitt must have been incredibly difficult for Harry, who was growing up in the midst of a very public family drama. It's understandable that Harry, as a young man trying to navigate the complexities of royal life, would have struggled with the idea of his paternity being under constant scrutiny. In fact, for several years, Harry didn't seem to question the notion that Hewitt might be his father. The rumors were so pervasive, and the press so insistent, that it seemed to become an accepted part of his story. Now, at 40, Prince Harry finally admits what we all suspected: the truth about Harry's paternity became clearer to him over time. By 2014, Harry himself had come to realize that Diana and James had been romantically involved only after he was born. In fact, Harry was born in 1984, while Diana's affair with Hewitt didn't begin until after Harry's birth, making it biologically impossible for James to be his father. This was a key point that Harry later addressed publicly, making it clear that the rumors were false. In breaking news, Harry stated, "Despite the media forcing this rumor, he's not my biological father, and it was easily proven." Harry's paternity was never in question, and simple calculations proved it. His biological father was, of course, Prince Charles. Though the rumors about James lingered for years, despite Harry speaking out, the rumors persist, and that infuriates him. The press refuses to back down, even as new information comes to light that directly contradicts the rumors. This unrelenting speculation. The persistent rumors about his paternity led Harry to take legal action against the press, specifically targeting outlets that had repeatedly published stories about his alleged paternity. Harry's legal action is a direct response to the persistent rumors surrounding his fatherhood. The rumors about James Hewitt being his father, while proven to be false, caused significant emotional distress to Harry and continue to haunt him to this day. What else is there in this story? Let us know in the comments.